Hey guys, welcome back to Rockwell Acres Farm. Today we are going to be working on our new construction home. It's been a little while since I've had you guys with me when we did this, partly because I've been like homeschooling the kids whenever John is down here, or when John and his guys are down here working on the home, but mainly because we've kind of had to put the project on hold for a couple of different reasons. Hunting season, I think we already talked about that, is coming, and we've had the other projects of building the blinds and making like the different blind stands. So of course that kind of became priority. But today we're going to be working on a flooring project. So I'm going to show you guys kind of what the problem has been, because we ran into a problem with our cement on our foundation and why we're having to do what we are doing. But first of all, if I can get you guys to like and subscribe to this video, it really helps us out. And we'll go in here and I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about. So we're inside here and we're in the living area, kitchen area. And if you will look at our floor here, the foundation, we have all these little, gosh, what would you even call that?
I think it's called spalting.
This was caused by like the night before we had our foundation poured. On top of the vapor barrier, there was a little bit of rain and it froze because we were doing this in the middle of winter. So we had ice underneath this when they came and brought the cement trucks in. And so as the ice melted and as this started setting up, the water started floating to the top. And so this pitting happened when the ice started melting on top of the foundation on the cement as it was setting up. Now the reason that happened is probably because it gets darker, quicker in the winter time. And so the people that were here that were working it probably just couldn't see what was going on, and they had to go home, as it got dark early in the evening. So this is just one of those things that happened that we didn't expect. The original plan was to probably just come in here and do staining on our concrete. But because this happened, that plan is just kind of out the window. So now our budget is kind of blown. We're had to go with a secondary plan. Just to show you how bad this was, it's really bad in certain areas. Now the living room area over here was not quite as bad, and there are places in the home that barely have any. But in here in our bedroom area, it's really, really bad. So for that reason, we could not just go and do like a floor leveler. We could, but that would be a few $1,000s just to do that. So we decided that we wanted hardwood or some engineered wood or something. So the best thing that we found, our best option, was to go with the hardwood, and we did something called, it's like a seconds and thirds. If you go to like a hardwood flooring store, you're going to have like the best hardwood. So we ended up getting something off of Facebook Marketplace, and we did this with our last home, and we absolutely loved it. And the seconds and thirds are the kinds that are shorter pieces. They have a lot of knots, maybe some cracks. They're just not perfect. It's not perfect wood, but honestly, we like that wood. We like the way it looks. Sometimes it doesn't come together really tight, and that was the problem that we found with some of it. So in order to really work with it that way, we kind of have to hammer it into place really hard. So it is a little bit of a pain in the butt sometimes. Some of the boards are a little bit warped, but we pick and choose the pieces out of it, and we just have to work with it. So you have a little bit more of waste with this type of wood. And I will show you some examples of some of those pieces as we get moving on it. But what we did to solve the problem, instead of doing like floor leveler and instead of gluing them, because we were afraid the glue was actually going to make the boards like move a little bit, we couldn't hammer them into place as easily, we have done this here. So I'm gonna let Dawn explain like what exactly is going on over here and why we chose to do this.
So what we're doing is we're laying plywood over our concrete. Now, she was talking about when we did our slab, we could have called the trucks off and said, hey, it's just too cold. We had a 40-degree day, so we were like, well, we need to get it done. We were really behind schedule on getting our build going, but we could have called the trucks off, but because if anybody knows, the building market right now is incredibly busy. Especially
Northwest Arkansas.
In our area for sure. So we'd have been waiting another 5 weeks for another truck. So we said, no, we're gonna have to get it done. They could have babysitted it a little bit longer and maybe pulled off some of the water, but it just is what it is. It's an unexpected thing, and it kind of stinks, but it is what it is. But what we're doing is we're doing a plywood, and we're nailing them down to the concrete with I think it's called a Healthy Gun. I'm not sure if that's what it's called, but I think it's like a 22 caliber concrete nailer. We're nailing them down. We're putting every 2 feet, 3 across every 4x4 sheet or 4x8 sheet every 2 feet.
So it goes into the concrete like that.
Yeah. So it's holding the plywood down really well, and then when we get the hardwood in, we're just going to nail it rather than glue it. It's just going to be nailed.
Can you show how you load that?
Yep. So we put it's like a 22 shell, and it goes into the gun like this, and then we close it, and then you put your little concrete nail in, and I'm just gonna...
Here, I gotta hold my ear while he does that because it's loud.
Then you just pull the trigger. Well, sometimes they misfire. I don't know why, but sometimes they do. I'm gonna see if I can... So it sounds like a 22 going off, and it has a little bit of kick, but not too bad. But that's how we're doing it. We're just nailing them down. When we get ready to finish the floors, we'll get a sander. We're going to do all of this project ourselves. We did our last one ourselves. We learned a lot from the last project. We may not be doing it right, but we're doing it the way that we know how. And if it's not right, it works for us.
They've already got a couple of the rooms completed in the hallway back in here. There's one complete room there. And on down the hallway into Brooke's bedroom. The foyer is complete as well. You can see all these little shells. They look just like little 22 shells, like all over the floor here. So Brooke and I are about to get started on something. What are Brooke and I doing today? What are you gonna have us do?
Okay, you could either continue scraping the floor and sweeping everything, which is what I've been doing, or you could start laying hardwood. What would you rather do?
I'd rather lay the hardwood. I mean, okay. That's just, I honestly kind of think it's fun. It's kind of like playing Tetris or something.
Okay.
And I like just picking out the designs of each piece to go next to like another one, like how they complement each other. It's, I don't know, it's a thing with me. Okay. I like it.
Well, we'll get you started on laying concrete. We'll get you started on laying hardwood then.
Okay, sounds good. While we're about to get started on that, John's gonna kind of get us set up to do that. He's got to get the air hoses and everything ready so that we can nail all the wood into place. I was gonna show you guys our wall back here. This is our shiplap. It's real wood and it has knots in it. So what we decided to do to make it look just smoother, more conform look to it, because I want to paint it, I didn't want to stain this part, is we just fill it with a putty and then we're just sanding it off after the putty dries to make it nice and smooth. It is a lot cheaper to do it this way than it is to have like some kind of perfect smooth particle board type shiplap, which we've used in the past too, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we're trying to save, we're pinching every penny that we possibly can. So we're doing it this way. So if you see spots all over my shiplap, that's what's going on. And we're gonna come back and we're gonna paint that after all the holes are filled and sanded.
We are going to start in Brittany's room. So whenever we get ready to lay our hardwood, we're going to start here, we're going to run across, and we're going to fully come down. And when I get right here, I'm going to stop. So I can actually get a measurement from here, from that wall to this wall. And then I can get a measurement out here, and I can make a chalk line across here. So because this is our shortest distance, if we would have started over there, we'd have had a lot of distance to cover. This is our shortest distance, so I'm going to bring in all my wood down through here until I match it to this chalk line. And back here, I'm going to start it. I'm going to cut my hardwood on the edge here where the door is at. I'm going to cut it so that it matches this hardwood here, so that we can flow. If I do it right, we're going to be able to flow this whole thing from her room all the way through the hallway, all the way through Brittany's room, all the way through the living room, down this hall, and all the way across to our master bedroom. I'm thinking that if we do it right, by starting here, I'm not going to have hardly any transition pieces, and that would be awesome. I'd rather not have transitions if we don't have to have them. Now, Colton's room, I know we're probably going to end up having a transition because his room kind of goes back. There's a possibility I can make it work. I'm going to try, but I'm not going to guarantee that either. But I think I can make it where this whole thing will flow without transitions. I just feel like hardwood looks so much better when you don't have a piece between a room that separates the two rooms, and everything flows the same way. Okay,
so the first thing that Brooke and I are going to do before we start laying our hardwood is to sweep the floors in here. There are these little shell casings and these little doodads, I don't even know what you call those. They're just kind of all over the floor from having these nails or these things shot into the floor. So we're gonna just get all that picked up, make sure there's nothing there that's gonna get in the way of us laying our hardwood nice and flat. And she's also gonna come through and she's going to beat these things into the wood a little bit better if they're not flush already, just so that we have a nice smooth, flush underfloor to start with. Underfloor is not the right word. Plywood. Floor. Anyway, whatever it is. You get the idea. And we're wearing our earplugs because it's gonna be loud in here. One other thing we forgot to mention was that there is a moisture barrier underneath this plywood. So we did do that.
We may have to take a deal and drive them down more because I'm just trying to keep it from going anywhere. We're just trying to get them things in there enough to where we don't have to, when we bang them, they ain't gonna mess up anymore. You want these boards on here when you bang these two in, so they don't, even like that, they can still move. Bang that in there real quick. So I've got this plywood here that it's about a ½ inch away from the wall. I'm just using it as a guide so that whenever the weather changes, the wood will be allowed to move, expand and contract like it's supposed to. Main thing is just try to keep these out there best as you can. So what I don't want to do is I don't want my gaps to line up. I want to stagger all of my gaps so that whenever it actually gives it a better cut, and you don't have two pieces that have a line through it. So everything's staggered. So I stagger. You got to stagger. I got to stagger. So we're going to stagger all of our wood.
So I wanted to show you guys an example of what I was talking about with the wood being seconds and thirds. So it means it's imperfect. So I have a lot of imperfections right here. You can see that there's these deep grooves in the wood, some knots. Some of them look like this. This is the underside, so that really doesn't even matter on that. There's the top side. Now what does matter when you're putting the flooring together is there's a ridge right here. And this is nice and rounded, but on some of them, the ridge got a little bit more flattened out. It just didn't cut properly, or it was in a weak spot of the wood where it just kind of split off.
That piece there would still work though, it's got enough.
It might still work, yes. We're not just gonna trash it,
If
but
there's one that's missing it completely, you don't want to use that.
right, it can't be completely shaved off. Now where you also might end up with a problem is on this other side. If you have two deeper grooves here along this flat side where it fits together, because these should snap.
You lock back in your face.
It should snap together like that. But if it doesn't, because there's, too much of the groove missing, then it's one that we just kind of have to trash. So we do have a little bit more waste with this. And some people don't like these deep knots, and I get that. It's just a matter of preference. We personally love them because we love a rustic look. Now what we'll probably do, because I don't want to have to vacuum and sweep out these individual knots, is to go back in with some wood filler, maybe some dyed or colored wood filler, and we'll fill those in before we stain and seal the wood.
What we need to do, what else would work, it's like a glue stick. It's like resin pretty much, but in a glue stick. You can take it and take a hot glue gun, battery powered probably be what you use, and just run it through there.
Okay, well, there's
That'd be quick and easy.
well, I guess there's evidently different ways that I didn't even know about. So we'll come up with something. We've used this before, and we did a wood filler, but the wood filler just didn't really look right. It never really matched the wood correctly, because they said you could go back over it with a darker stain, but it did not pick up the stain well, because once the polyurethane came over the top of it, it just completely took off the stain that was on top of the wood filler. So there's got to be some way of doing something that is colored within the wood filler, or like he was saying, the stick. So we'll try something different. If anybody has any suggestions about that, if you know about wood, if you worked with flooring or wood filler before, please let us know in the comments, because we'd be interested to have some different options. Across something right here I'm going to point out. This board was cut just ever so slightly shorter than these other boards. And that's not a big deal, as long as our trim board covers it. So I went to the piece of our board that we're going to use as trim, put it flush against the wall, and it covers it. So that will be just fine. It's still a usable board.
We just need like a tiny bit cut off.
That wasn't as good, but it'll work.
So here they are so far. You can see the beautiful grains in the wood, all the different colors and all the knots, those rustic knots that we love so much. Now this is red oak, and I believe it is 5 inches wide, just in case anybody was wondering. So this flooring, it is in those shorter pieces, so some people that may bother aesthetically, that they don't like the way it looks. It doesn't bother me. I was wondering if it would, but in the last house it did not bother me at all. It really just, it looks really pretty. And the price, you guys, when you get kind of these seconds and thirds, the price is so much less than if you bought something from a big box store or a flooring store. It was $1.59 a square foot. This is real hardwood. And so it's just from somebody who does, who actually just sells mainly seconds and thirds. So they're not like a box store that you can just walk in anytime. You just have to contact them and place your order with them. And then when they get a shipment in, they bring it to you. So we're gonna call it a day for now. Thanks for joining us again on Rockwell Acres Farm. And we'll see you guys on the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for me.